the quiet farmlands of Plainfield, Wisconsin, beneath endless gray skies and the whisper of cornfields, lived a man whose name would echo through horror for decades. His story would crawl out of obscurity, twisting its way into Hollywood's nightmares. This is the story of Ed Gein, the man who turned grief into madness and a farmhouse into a graveyard of horrors. Ed Gein was born in 1906 to Augusta and George Gein. His father was a weak, alcoholic man, but his mother, Augusta, was something else entirely. Fanatically religious, she believed the world was filled with sin, corruption, and evil women. She taught young Ed that the female body was a vessel of temptation and that only she could show him the path to purity. Under her control, Ed became isolated, shy, obedient, and utterly dependent. When she spoke, he listened as though God himself had whispered. When his mother died in 1945, Ed's world cracked open. He lost the only person he'd ever loved, and the only person who ever controlled him. What replaced her absence was something far darker. After Augusta's death, Ed boarded up her bedroom and the parlor, leaving them as a shrine perfectly preserved. He lived alone in a decaying farmhouse surrounded by filth and silence. But that silence soon filled with something grotesque. At night, Ed began visiting local graveyards, digging up recently buried women who, in his words, reminded him of his mother. He brought their bodies home, dissected them, and began to craft things, lampshades, belts, and masks, all made from human skin. He wasn't driven by lust or hatred. It was longing, a desperate, broken attempt to bring his mother back. For years, the townsfolk of Plainfield whispered about the strange man who lived on the edge of town. But no one truly knew what he was capable of until November 16th, 1957. When local hardware store owner Bernice Worden vanished, the trail led straight to Ed Gein. Inside his farmhouse, police made a discovery so horrific that even seasoned officers couldn't believe their eyes. Bernice's body hung in the shed, decapitated, gutted like a deer. Inside the home, bowls made from skulls, chairs covered in human skin, a mask crafted from a woman's face. It was a museum of death, a grotesque tribute to the mother he could never let go of. Gein was declared legally insane and spent the rest of his life in a mental institution. He died in 1984, reportedly quiet and polite. The kind of man you'd never suspect was once the inspiration for Norman Bates, Leatherface, and Buffalo Bill. He wasn't the most prolific killer, but few crimes have ever felt so deeply unsettling. Because Ed Gein didn't just kill, he tried to recreate life in the image of his obsession. And somewhere between grief and madness, he became a reflection of something far more terrifying than any monster in film: the dark, unrestrained corners of the human mind. If you found this story fascinating, dark, or just plain disturbing, you've only scratched the surface. Subscribe to Historia Noir for more tales from the shadows of history, where truth is often stranger and far more terrifying than fiction.